All right, hello, everyone. My name is Curtis Dohanyuk, and I would like to extend you a hearty greeting all the way from Canada. We still have snow on the ground, so I hope you folks are all faring better in your wherever you are. I know this is a GMT time zone, so I'm assuming we got the Europe crowd here. But today, I am your host. I am a product expert with Replicon, and I will be your feature presentation guide on our webinar on how to ensure accurate project time tracking with work from home and office employees. So a quick look at the agenda before we get things rolling. First, we're going to take a look at some of the problems that face organizations when it comes to working from home and billing and all that sort of stuff. Then we'll take a look at how the Replicon platform can solve these. Then we'll hop into a demo of the platform because that's how I know you're all here to see everything in action. Then we'll look at some customer transformations and finish off with a Q&A. And just a few notes on housekeeping before we get rolling. You will be on mute during the presentation, but rest assured, if you have any burning questions, you can submit them in your question box on your little webinar panel, and I will get to as many as we can at the end of the webinar. So at Replicon, not only do we believe that people's time is a strategic asset, but it is their most important asset. As we all know, time is finite. Once it's used up, we don't get it back, and we only have so much available to us on a day or a year. And how much time is that exactly? Well, depends on the size of your organization. If you are in a 5,000 employee or 500 employee organization, you have 1.04 million hours available to you annually. 5,000 employees, that jumps up to 10.4 million hours a year. And 50,000 employees, you have 104 million hours at your disposal in 1 year. And that is so much time for any one person or one department to handle. It's almost unfathomable how much time you have. And what makes managing this time so difficult? Well, there's a couple of things. One is it is fragmented and tedious. So especially working from home, we'll be able to feel this right now. We have our on-premises data in our databases. We have our on-premises hardware. We have everything stored in the cloud, like our ERP, our CRM, HCM, PSA, project management, payroll. And having all this try to work together can be so difficult. As you can see with our Fragm system here, not every piece fits in the puzzle so elegantly, and he's being pulled in two directions, and it can just be so hard for everything to be managed properly. And we know that services businesses face many challenges. You can see a couple of them highlighted here. And we actually wanted to hear from you folks quickly. What challenges you're facing the most in this new kind of work from home change in the remote workforce? So I'm going to launch a quick poll here for you guys to answer. I'll keep it open just on this tab and then I'll close it down because you won't be able to see anything I'm presenting. But some of the common problems we see organizations facing is billing delays, cash flow imbalances, collaboration issues, future pipeline growth, overtime issues, the list goes on. So we want really to be able to focus in on what you guys are finding is to be the most difficult challenges. And I did have a quick question, so I'm going to save most of them till the end, but while you guys are answering the poll questions here, will the webinar recording be available after the webinar? It for sure will, so stay tuned and we'll get all that information to you. And after we get a few more answers here, I'll continue on with the webinar. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and close the poll. Looks like forecasting future project bids and resourcing is the #1 answer, and we will cover that in the webinar today. So you are in luck. So I'm actually going to close that poll down. We'll hop back to the webinar. And so we understand there's a lot of problems, and what is the stem of all these problems? Well, we have a whole different team of people that all needs time for different reasons. And if you don't have one source of data for all this time information, it can make things so chaotic. So we have our finance leaders, operation leaders, delivery leaders, resource managers, billing leaders, HR leaders, and to exasperate the problem, everyone is in different locations right now. You can't simply walk over to someone's desk and ask them a question. We need a way for everyone to be able to pull their data in one consistent action. So for that, we have the Replicon Time Intelligence Platform, which is our powerful platform and the one source of truth for all of your time tracking needs. So you're going to hear me say this a couple of times today, maybe more than a couple. Replicon is so configurable. Every aspect of the platform can be configured to meet your organization's needs. And this includes size. So whether you are a 10K or a 100K established organization or the 10-person startup, we can grow with your organization, not only in size, but in location. So Replicon is global and secure. So we have multiple locations, multiple languages, currencies, payrolls, holiday schedules. Regardless of where you have employees, Replicon can create a platform that includes every aspect of that employee's workday to make it feel like Replicon was built for them. And not only are we global, but we are mobile. So your on-the-go workforce will always have access to all their time tracking needs at the palm of their hands. We use artificial intelligence to make this process so simple from everyone, all the way from the top level administration down to the end users. Replicon is a breeze to use for everyone, and we are plug and play, so we use an open source API to interact with your whole ecosystem. So whether you need to send or receive data from Replicon, we play well with every program in your system. Replicon does have a comprehensive suite of project and time attendance-based solutions. You'll see a couple of them on the bottom here. And just a plug for me, if we will actually be having some more webinars in the future, we're actually launching a weekly webinar series that will cover more of these topics in depth. So if there's anything that really piques your interest, stay tuned because we will be launching webinars on all of these topics. And so just a quick overview of everything we're going to see in my little, well, not so little demo today. We're going to take a look at accurate project tracking, estimates versus actuals, improved billable hours, maximizing utilization, and project and resource forecasting, all from either remote or the office. Replicon works great for both. And with that, I am going to hop into our demo because that is the most exciting part. Better to show than tell, right? So we know that you all are going to be facing, or not everyone, but some people will be facing a new reality with this work from home or remote working. And we still want to be able to do things like managing our projects. We want to be able to staff our resource our utility or utilize our resources to their maximum. We want to be able to log our time correctly and still be able to make money and bill for all of the work we've done. But we're going to need to kind of change our workflow because, well, everything is a little different with the work from home. And you have so much information being fed into your organization. You have expenses, time off, project time, non-project time, billable hours, non-billable hours. And this can be overwhelming. So we want to make all this really manageable and understandable within Replicon. And we do this through our dashboards. So our dashboards are the living visualization of everything that you have put into Replicon, and they cover a ton of different metrics. But as you put information to our system, these will be updated in real time. But let's not get too far ahead of ourselves and start at the beginning. So we want to start managing our projects. And well, to manage a project, we will need a project. And there's a couple of different ways we can create our projects within Replicon. If you have your own CRM program, you can actually upload all of that information directly to Replicon itself, and you'll get it all visualized like you see here. But if you don't have a CRM program, that is okay too, because as I said before, Replicon is configurable, and we can create our projects directly within Replicon ourselves. And we know, again, things are volatile. We don't know exactly what these projects will look like in a month or 2 months. So although we have options like billing type, billing rate time period, time and expense entry, revenue type, and total contract value, all of this is flexible. So once you've actually created the project, if you need to dive down a little bit later and edit things, that's okay too. And once you've actually created the project, you'll be given a host more options for things that you can tweak, such as CapEx versus OpEx. So the opportunity exists to make these projects exactly what you need for your organization. And to better understand how we're going to be logging our time towards these projects, we might want to understand the structure of how they are in Replicon. So at the top of our project tree, we have programs, and these are the larger initiatives within an organization. As you can see, they are usually a group of projects, but sometimes they can be as small as one. Another couple of things you'll see often in Replicon is the ability to sort through these tables. So we have tables with different settings. We can have all the different information displayed, whatever we see pertinent at the time. And we have the ability to drill down. So anytime you see this lovely light blue font, that usually indicates you can drill a little bit further into any one of these metrics. So maybe we want to understand a little bit more about our business intelligence practice. We see that that is our biggest program. We can drill down even further and get a list of all of our projects, whether they've been archived, completed, deferred, whatever status they may exist in. And again, if we see something that piques our interest, we have the ability to sort through all these tables. We can actually drill down further. So I want to find out more about financial data reporting fixes. That is one of our highest billed projects. So let's find out a little bit more. So in Replicon, as you are entering information, everything is updated in real time. And this is so important because you have lots of different people that need to grab information about this project at any given time. So we can look at things like hours, cost, and billing on a daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly basis. And let's take, for example, our billing versus our cost. Obviously, we want our billing to be higher than our cost. And in this instance, we can see at this time frame, we are doing pretty well. We have a histograph on the bottom here that will show us kind of the trends in this project. And if things are looking good like they are right now, then we can kind of continue on as business as usual. But if we start inputting some future information, like we start putting resources into work in the coming months, and we start to see that our costs are ballooning and not going to quite line up with our billing, then well, maybe this gives us an indication that we need to start some course correction and changing things around so that this project can remain profitable, keep those peaks high and those values even not so high. And we understand though that you don't just want to enter time towards a big generic project because, well, you have lots of moving parts. So we have broken our projects down even further into tasks, and these are the nice bite-sized chunks of each project. So all these tasks can be divided into subtasks and sub-subtasks, but very importantly, all of these tasks will have their own individual estimate. And especially working from home, it is so important to have goals and ways to track progress on a project, because when you're working from home and you don't have contact with everyone else on a daily basis and you don't see other people working, it can be kind of feel like you're on a treadmill, right? You're moving forward, but are you actually making progress? So having these actuals and estimates really gives your employees and organization a good understanding of how far along you should and are on each of these given tasks. And for example, say we're getting close to finishing something up like our interview. We can see we have 46 out of 50 hours. Then that's a good indication that we could start moving time into our surveys and etc. Or on the other hand, if we are wrapping things up and we can see like implementation should have been wrapped up already and we're starting to go over, that means we need to really get going and start to finish off that given task. Finally, it also allows us to identify areas of our organization where weaknesses may exist. So if we are continually going overtime on our implementation, for example, like you see here, that's a good indicator that we need to build in more time for this specific task in all of our future projects. So again, we can manage the time of completion and keep everything within budget. So now we understand a little bit better about how everything is organized project-wise in Replicon, but we're going to need to staff this project. And this is shockingly enough done in the Team tab. So our Team tab highlights everyone who is assigned to this project. It also highlights the permission-driven nature of the Replicon platform. So let's take Tammy Benson, for example. Tammy will only be able to see information on this project. She won't be able to see anything else in this program unless she's given access to it. And within this project, she will only see the information that is given to her. So billing rates, for example, we can assign billing rates on a project basis, or we can assign billing rates to an individual user. But again, we understand things are in flux and these may need to change at any time. So maybe our project rate is going down. We're giving our client a little bit of a discount. We can actually change these project rates on the fly. If one of these project roles doesn't exist anymore, we can nix that project rate entirely. Or if we need to create something new on the go, we can add a billing rate at any given time. And these can be assigned and revoked as you see fit. So we are ensuring that our time being logged is the correct project rate every single time. And the same thing goes for tasks. So we can actually assign tasks on a task, subtask basis, and our users will only be able to enter time that they've been assigned tasks. And not only will they be able to only see what we give them access to, but we can control when they have that access. So again, we can sort of create a schedule within their timesheets themselves by assigning start and end dates. So again, our resources know exactly when a project should be wrapping up, when a specific task should be wrapping up, and understanding how far along they should be on any given task. And this level of permissions drills down even further. So within Replicon, we actually assign our users roles. We have a whole group of permissions that are already built into the system, and this will limit the access to these tabs you see up top. So we have roles all the way from the basic user who will just be able to access their My Replicon time to admin, like you'll see now, with access to everything. Not curious, but a different example that a lot of organizations will find advantageous, especially right now, is our client representative role. So Stacy Olson doesn't actually work for Replicon. She is one of our clients, and Stacy has the ability to approve timesheets. But with this new kind of work from home reality, this might be a little bit more difficult for us to communicate with Stacy. So by giving Stacy access to our Replicon as a client representative, she will only be shown the timesheets that she needs to approve at any given time. And if there's one of these timesheets submitted, she will be notified immediately and she can take action. And this really helps to streamline the process for everyone. And by giving Stacy this client representative role, we can see that she has access to very little. She's not going to be able to find out any of our organization's information, and we can really ensure that everything is running smoothly for everyone. And so that really exemplifies how permission-driven Replicon can be if you need it to be that way. So I'm going to actually hop back to our project. It looked like we had a little bit of a light staff on this guy. So let's drill down into our financial data reporting fixes and just double check here. So I can see my team tab. I don't have so many users assigned, but to better exactly understand how I have everyone on this project working, I can pull up my allocation tab. And my allocation tab reveals exactly how everyone is allocated, not only on this project, but on other projects. So you'll see a couple different color codes here. Blue is hours that are allocated towards this project. Gray is hours allocated to another project. And the two shades of green are hours that are allocated to either time off or holiday. Now, one thing we don't want to see here is this little red triangle in the corner. That means a user is over allocated, which in turn probably means they're incurring overtime, and which in turn means they are increasing our overhead, which is not ideal. But this allocation page really allows us to understand the changing nature of our workforce. So if someone's taking vacation time where they have to take emergency family leave or sick leave, it will be all updated here so we can understand exactly how our workforce is distributed throughout our employees. So in this example, I can see, oh boy, I don't have anyone working next week or any of the coming weeks. So I'm going to need to add a user onto this project. And our add user screen allows you to sort through a bunch of different metrics. So we can actually look for a specific skill. So in this instance, I need someone with Sage skills, and we can actually rank them according to their skill so that you can find the best person for the job every single time. And in this instance, I need someone in North America so we can match up their time zones. And would you look? It looks like Alex Chu is the person for the job. Let's go ahead and add Alex, you're on the team. And we can go ahead and assign his hours just as easily. So we're going to get him started next week, and we can assign a specific number of hours per day, a number of total hours, or if Alex is already working on another project, we can actually assign a percentage of his available hours towards this project. And what this really allows us to do is maximize our resource utility. Working from home, it can be sometimes hard to have direction. You can have lulls in the day where you might not understand exactly what you should be working on. This way, we can ensure that Alex is allocated for every single hour of his week, so he knows exactly what he should be working on. And by allocating these hours, we can actually update our actuals and our estimates that we saw before in our projects. So let's go ahead and add Alex for his 40 hours for that week. And now we can see, yeah, Alex's hours are added and we are utilizing our resource to his maximum. And unfortunately, there are instances in the past, as we can see here, that I have not been using my resources to their maximum utilization. So take, for example, Robert California, 36, 36, 36, Tammy Benson, 32, 32. So just let's imagine we were able to use Replicon to discover one extra billable hour per user per week for a year. We'll take out vacation time, so that's going to be about 50 weeks. At a rate of $300 per hour, that is going to be 15,000 billable hour dollars per user per year. Now multiply that by, say, our 500 user workforce, that's going to be 7.5 million billable dollar hours that we have discovered just from finding this extra time in 1 year. Now imagine we're able to find instances like this where there's 4 extra hours we could utilize or 8 hours. Imagine how much more efficient our organization can be. And this efficiency goes even further into our resources tab. So our resources tab breaks down every single hour that your organization is spending in any given time period. So not only is it on a project level, but your whole organization. And you can actually drill down into each individual user and understand how they're being utilized so that you can better utilize them in the future, as well as utilize every resource in your organization. And we also understand that there may be instances where you don't necessarily know exactly what resources you're going to need on a project. Maybe you're still in the planning phases and you want to see what this project's going to cost or whatever. So for that, we have our placeholder resources. Our placeholder resources can be given cost, billing rate, and you can start to log them in one of those planning projects processes, and it will update those actuals and estimates so you know how much it's going to cost, what kind of spending you're going to have, what kind of hiring or training you may need to do, and then you can start taking action before that project gets going. And then once you do have those users hired or trained, you can actually replace these placeholder resources with that actual resource itself, and you won't have to worry about any of your project information being skewed. It will be all up to date because you've already done all the planning. So now we've seen how we can plan our projects, how we can staff them. Now we need to log time towards them, and we call ourselves the Time Intelligence Company for a reason. We do time so well. So our My Replicon tab is going to house all of our users' time information. We're going to come back to timesheets in a bit. I'm going to go pretty in depth into those, but we're also going to take a look at time off and expenses. So right now, user schedules will be in flux, and we want them to understand exactly what they have available to them in regards to time off. So we can actually create custom accrual policies for all sorts of different time off types. Basically, any time off type you have in your organization can be created within Replicon. So here you can see we have vacation, family emergency, personal leave, and sick leave. And we can actually drill down into each one of these as a user and understand exactly how I am accruing these hours and how much I have available to me. So for example, if I needed to take emergency family leave, I can actually just go drill down onto the days I need to take it off. I can have a start and end date. It'll tell me exactly how many hours I have left, how much I'll have at the end of the year. And this will be automatically submitted to my approver, supervisor, or manager, and they will get this immediately so that we can better streamline the process of finding out where people are at in their time off. And also, if you have a team and you want this feature activated, you can actually see when everyone is booking time off within your team. And this will allow you to better plan your vacation so that there is no overlap of vacation time, so that you're having all your resources available and you're not having a bunch of people going on vacation at one time. Another new reality might be some users are going to be logging expenses that they've never logged before. Working from home might need that you have to upgrade your internet, or no one likes working on one monitor, so you might need to go out and get a couple to make your workday more efficient. And for this, we have our expense tab. So you can actually upload photos of all your receipts. You can log every single expense. And again, this will be updated immediately to whoever the supervisors are. So again, it saves so much back and forth time and gives all the pertinent information in one chunk here, so our supervisors don't have to be asking for more. It just saves everyone so much time and hassle and allows this process to really be hastened. And then finally, on our My Replicon tab, we have our timesheets. We feasibly have so many different permutations of timesheets within Replicon that each user in your organization could have their own individual timesheet. One example that you see here is a little bit more of a project-oriented timesheet, so we can actually log time towards a specific client, task, and then subtasks and projects, and these are all actually searchable. So if you are an organization with 100 different job codes, these will all be searchable, so your resources aren't spending a million hours trying to decide which tasks they should be logging their time towards, because in tandem with our permission-driven nature and this searchability, you can really hone in and know exactly what your users are working on, and so no mistakes are being made. And so once you've selected your task and activity, you can actually change your billing rate if applicable and your activity here, and you could start logging time. And as you saw before on our task screen, as we're logging time, we will have these growing progress bars. And this is also so important on an individual user basis because it really allows each user to understand the progress that they are making and how the organization is doing on a specific project. And you can see here, like we have projects that are starting to go over estimated time, and it will give you an actual percentage. And we can set a threshold that will actually notify users when they've reached. So if it's 125%, they'll get a little pop-up when they try to enter their time. So I think, oh, and then I also forgot to mention here on the bottom, we have our target billable hours, which is similar to our progress bars, but this is our kind of progress as an organization because, well, billable hours are where we're making our money, and we really want our users to be able to manage their time while they are working remotely and understand which of their hours are billable, which are not. And as you'll see, it just updated there from all my updates on the top there. And this just really gives everyone an idea of how the organization is doing and the individual is doing, managing their schedule. And if changes need to happen, then we can have me, who's the user of this timesheet, talk to managers if I'm having trouble logging my billable hours and understanding where I should be. So I think I'm ready to submit this timesheet. As you can see, this was quite the week. Oh boy, Tuesday, that was rough. I'd like to get this week behind me, so I'm going to go ahead and try to submit this timesheet for approval. And the first thing that we will notice is that I get one of these attestations. And this is an example of validation rules within Replicon. So validation rules are certain parameters that must be met every single time a timesheet is submitted. And these will cover things like rolling time in a specific period, mandatory break enforcement, minimum time entered, or as you see here, this attestation. So this is important for this organization. I forgot to accept this attestation. I will get this gentle reminder here, and I can go ahead and accept and submit. So we will let Replicon work its magic just for a moment here. And it looks like I already have an error. Activity selection is required. Still thinking. So my timesheet was rejected because I had multiple errors when I tried to submit this timesheet. So by having these validation rules in place, we can actually reject timesheets that do not meet these specific criteria. And this will force the user to correct their time before it's actually submitted. And again, saves us so much back and forth and having to go back and change things, ask if this is right. And really, it's just a headache and a waste of time for everyone. So by nipping the problem at the bud, we are able to ensure that, again, all of our time is clean and accurate every time we submit it. And we'll have a couple more examples of this in our billing tab. So our billing tab actually houses every timesheet that has ever been created in the history of your Replicon instance. And this will cover things like timesheets that haven't been submitted, timesheets that are waiting for approval, timesheets that have been rejected. It will all be housed here in case you ever need to go back and sort through things. Me as an approver will find this waiting for approval tab quite pertinent. I can see exactly what I have, actions that I have to take. I can batch approve if I want, but might not be the way to go right now because I can see I have a few different validation warnings triggered here. And I can hover over top of them so I'm not having a heart attack when I drill down into these timesheets. And so we can see that Rania, Chris, and Stan all have some validation warnings triggered. So let's drill down a little bit further and better understand what's going on with each of these timesheets. So as we can see with Tammy, she actually has a little bit more of a custom timesheet. Her timesheet tells us exactly what time she's working during the day, activity, task, project, and very importantly for this remote working is comments. It's really good to be able to enter comments during the day because you want to understand exactly what your resources are working on, what they've been doing, what's keeping them busy, and so you can connect with them in some sort of meaningful way. We also have this mileage tab here. This can be customized to say things like mileage, units completed. You can upload a picture of proof for the work for the day, whatever makes sense for your organization. But the key takeaway here is that these timesheets can be customized to whatever your organization's needs are, and they are constantly changing. So if one week you're working in the office and the next week you're working from home, you could actually have a timesheet for each of these periods and you can change them on the fly. So you can really configure the timesheet that works best for your organization at any given time. And as we can see, Tammy didn't submit her comments. Rania didn't submit her comments. So she had one of these validation warnings pop up. In this instant, it wasn't such an egregious area to outright reject the timesheet, but it'll still notify any approvers and they can decide whether they want to approve or send this back to Rania, have a discussion about how important entering these comments are. Another example that we saw here was with Chris. And Chris has a much more simple timesheet. For some organizations, this works perfect. He's just basically entering his hours per day. But we can see that Chris has exceeded his time period for the week. He entered too many hours. And so at this point, I can either go back, talk to Chris, and if he needs to make the changes, he can actually reopen this timesheet at any time and change them himself, or me as an approver, which is not ideal because we want to be managing our time well, can go back and open these timesheets. But by giving our users the ability to go back and correct any mistakes, again, we're saving a lot of time on the end of the approver and saving so much of this back and forth. And anytime there is a change, we will be logged in this approval history on the bottom. So we know exactly who, what, and when happened and changed this timesheet. And right now we are usually finding that people like to punch in and out a little bit more in our mobile app, but that ability exists now in our desktop platform because, well, when people are working from home, we want to kind of better understand their schedule and how their workday is structured. So we actually support time punching on our mobile app and our desktop platform. And this allows us to see when a user started during the day, when they took their break, what kind of break they were taking, and exactly understand what kind of schedule will work best for this user and how we can align that with our organization. And we wanted all of this ease of use to transfer over directly to our mobile app. So I'm actually going to log into Replicon quick here, and I'll give you a taste of exactly all the ease of use that you get. That is our mobile app. All right, so let me switch over here. So our mobile app was designed with our desktop platform in mind, but to make it easier for everyone on the go. So one of those things that will make things easier is Chatbot. Chatbot is one example of artificial intelligence within Replicon. You can use it to automatically streamline processes, answer questions, but we will cover that in another webinar. Today, we're focusing in on time and billing. So we can actually drill down into our timesheets. This is a kind of abnormal example. Usually we wouldn't have a clock in and a timesheet feature, but just for today's demo, we're gonna actually have both. So I'm logged in as Richard. Richard can clock in, he can take his break, he can change his break type, he can clock in and out, and we'll see the punches like we saw with our previous timesheet. But if Richard has a more traditional timesheet, he can also log in on a specific day, add a time entry towards a specific client, project, task, billing rate, activity. So basically what Richard had access to in the desktop platform, he has access to in the mobile app. And this just ensures a clean and accurate time on the go. They're not trying to remember exactly what they did during the day. They can pull up their phone, log the time, and then continue on with that activity. And we wanted this ease of use to transfer over to all the approver tab activities as well. So we have this dashboard tab. This is for all managers and supervisors. Anytime there is an action that needs to be taken, they will get a push notification or an email that says, please log into your app and do something. And in this instance, we could see that something is I have some timesheets, expenses, and time off for approval. So I can actually drill down into any one of these timesheets and better understand exactly what's going on. So we could see for Tammy, 8 hours, 8 hours, 8 hours, 8 hours, 8 hours, business as usual, no validation warnings triggered. So we can go ahead and approve this timesheet, but we can also set timesheets with this kind of business as usual to approve automatically. So we actually have smart approval processes within Replicon. So if there's a regular timesheet like this, it can approve automatically. If a timesheet needs to be approved by a supervisor, we can have 1-step approval, 2-step approval, 12-step approval. Again, whatever works best for your organization, and you can control which order these go through the users. But by automating this process, again, we're saving time from our approvers going through each timesheet and checking to make sure things are correct. Because by having these automatic approvals and these validation rules, you are really ensuring that time is being entered cleanly. And there are a couple of other features that are really unique to our mobile app. So one of those is our punch team status. So we can actually pull up a map and see where everyone on our team has punched in or out from. And this is all optional. So if you don't want any of this information logged or tracked, you don't have to. You can just simply have a punch in and punch out. But we can actually mandate that a photo must be taken so that we know there's nobody punching. Whoever's punching in is actually punching in. And we can set a geofence so we can actually control the areas that our employees can punch in or out from. And this just, again, allows for the ensure that that time being entered is clean and accurate. So someone's not going for a walk when they're logging time towards work. We know exactly what is going on with each user. And again, another way to exemplify this is with our team timesheets. So we can actually drill down and see what time has been submitted for our team during the week, see which of these timesheets have violations or overtime, which of these timesheets don't. And again, we can drill down and just really understand exactly what is going on with everyone in our organization. So we're not feeling as overwhelmed with all the different moving parts. And I'm just going to hop back into the platform. So we've looked at how we can create projects, how we staff them, and how we log time towards them. We're going to need to get paid for all our work, and we don't want that to stop just because we're working remotely. We obviously still want to be making money. And so all of our billing information will be housed, again, in our billing tab. So on this page here, this is so important because when we're working on a project, we have project managers who are logging time. We have resources who are logging time. We have payroll, we have billing and accounting that all needs to access this information. And without having it centralized in one area, again, this is a lot of back and forth. So this automates the process. Every time we log our billable hours, it's transferred over here, and then our billing or accounting department can do what they need to do with that. So if we need to invoice directly from Replicon, we have the option to export everything directly to our accounting or billing software. So with a couple of clicks, we select which invoices we need to sync up, and everything will be sent over in a matter of seconds to your accounting or billing software. But if you don't have one of these programs, that's okay too, because we can actually create invoices directly from the platform itself. So if we have different clients, we can create different templates. We can change things like the logo, the layout, the font. Once the template is actually created and we're logging our time and our hours, we can actually adjust things on the fly. So say project's running a little long and we're adding extra hours, this will be reflected in the invoice directly for both the issuer and the issuee. We can add line items like discounts. And then once we're ready to go, we can email this directly again, save some back and forth, no paper, everything's online, and which is really useful for this work from home nature that we're having right now. And then once you've issued this, you can email it out directly and update the status of this specific invoice in real time. So we have managed our projects, staffed them, logged time towards them, got paid for them. We have been putting so much different information into the Replicon platform, and it is really important to understand what this means for our organization. So in Replicon, we can visualize this in a number of ways. One of those ways is reports. So reports are the hard line data behind your organization. And I'm sure you've seen a report or 2 or 1,200 in your history, and that's because they are so important. So here is kind of the most requested reports by our customers. Again, everything here is configurable, so you can add, subtract, tweak, change whatever you need to fit your organization's needs. All these reports can be scheduled to run daily, weekly, monthly, yearly, and you can send them to whoever needs them in your organization. And again, this is really important right now because we want everyone to stay in the loop exactly what is going on with your organization. So you can decide who needs each of these reports on a daily basis and send them out, and yeah, keep everyone up to date. And a good example of this would be our project profitability analysis. So we can run these on the spot, and this analysis will actually take all of our contract values, estimated cost, estimated billing, actuals, smush that all together, and we will get our expected profitability. And there are so many different project managers that are working on different projects, and trying to have this all in one area without a report like this can be so difficult because you're going to have to get reports from each project manager and compare these. So by having this project profitability analysis, we can compare our actual and our expected profitability. And if there is things that aren't quite lining up, we will get one of these not so nice alerts. And this will allow us to understand which projects might need a little bit of a prod in the right direction to get things fixed up. And within Replicon, we understand that, well, we might not be the only piece of your ecosystem, or we may be the only piece of your ecosystem, but we want you to be able to visualize your whole organization's data in a meaningful way. So we do this through our dashboards and BI connectors. So Replicon can actually connect to BI tools like Tableau, Google BigQuery, and Power BI. And to import all of your data like you see here, all you have to do is download one of our sample workbooks, log into your instance, which is through our connector, which is your username and password, and then you can import all the information that you have access to and get visualizations like this. So not only are we keeping track of your time, but we're telling you what this means for your organization. So say, for example, first we wanted to understand our productivity. So we want to understand how we're using our project time and which of our hours are non-project time. We can drill down into this productivity analyzer, and we can see where our project time is being logged on our department level as well as a user level, and we can really understand where our project hours are being logged. And if we want to take it a step further, we can break these project hours down into billable and non-billable time. And again, we can go to our utilization manager and see which of our departments and users are logging the most billable and non-billable hours, and again, start course correction if needed or give kudos where they're deserved. But by having these dashboards, we are able to conglomerate all of our organization's information in one digestible spot so we can better understand exactly what our hours are exactly doing for us. So that's going to bring me to the end of my demo. I'm going to hop back into the PowerPoint presentation, and we're going to take a quick review of everything we saw today and look at some customer transformations, then move into the Q&A. So as you saw today, excuse me, we just covered a couple of the benefits of Replicon, but it can do so much. It is capable of so many different things. It can help you decrease revenue leakages, increase resource utilization, decrease overhead. The list goes on. What Replicon is allowing you to do is have one accurate source of truth for all your time and really streamline all the processes involved with this. We can see that in a couple of examples here. So our first example is a 300-person consulting firm, Gasp. They used manual spreadsheets. I know that is a nightmare. And as you can see, it just made everything impossible. Their system was not flexible. It was difficult to manage their cash flow. Billing was an absolute nightmare, and it affected their profitability. But after going with Replicon, they were able to have a user-friendly interface that gave them one consistent source of truth for all their time data. And by being able to pull from this, they were better able to manage their resources, staff better, more fast and accurate billing, and reduce their timesheet errors. Similarly, we can see with our 6,500 employee IT services firm, they had field-based project workers, so they had people everywhere, very similar to what we have in the remote workforce right now. And they all had to pull data on time and have one single source of truth, which they didn't have. So again, this manual intervention required because they had so much going on and they had employees everywhere, and it was just difficult to track everything. So by implementing Replicon, they had a holistic view of all their organization's time, and they had this in real time so they could take action as things were happening. This increased utilization and profitability and created a cultural change that really allowed everyone to communicate and work more cohesively. So as you saw today, we were looking more at time and billing, but we have a comprehensive suite that covers all sorts of different solutions. And as I mentioned before, we do have weekly webinars launching that will cover some of these other areas. But if you have any questions, feel free to get in touch with me. We can actually get you set up with a customized demo so that you can see exactly how Replicon can work for your organization. We also have the option, if you just have any questions, you can send me an email. My email here is curtis.dohaniuk@replicon.com. A little bit of a tongue twister, I know, so might be best to copy it off the page here. And we want you to go ahead and tweet some of your challenges around project time tracking and billing at our hashtag Replicon, and you can actually let us know what challenges you, and then we can maybe help you better understand how Replicon can solve those problems.